I would say my chest and my back are probably one of my weaker areas. And so chest and back have been a priority for probably since the very beginning. I've had to come up with a lot of different ways to train both of those, especially chest, in order to get some kind of growth and just to make sure that that symmetry on both sides is the same. The main thing I'm really focused on is just bringing the intensity to those sets and really just pushing it all the way to failure, because like I know what failure is, and I know that as long as I push that set as hard as I possibly can, I know I'm gonna get some growth out of that. Yeah, just kind of loosen up my shoulders a little bit. I'm just like, for some reason, I'm just so tight all the time, especially like pulling behind my neck like this. So it takes a little bit just to kind of get everything opened up. What I'll do is I'll start with a smaller band, and I might grab a thicker band just to kind of open it up a little bit more. And but sometimes I'll use the pole too. So I'll start off with about like 12 to 15 reps on this first one. Usually I'll do about probably another 2 or 3 rounds of that, just to kind of, nothing to failure or anything, just to get some blood into the muscle. I like doing it like this. My left shoulder's been giving me some issues, and so whenever I put the bar or the handle right into the elbow crevice, it takes some of that pressure off of the shoulder and really just kind of puts it all into the pec. That way I'm able to drive those elbows in all the way together and get a full contraction like that. There's some people have like different ranges of motion for their physique, and I just like to keep all the tension onto that muscle that I'm working, especially whenever I'm warming up for all my sets. If I stretch too far, I feel like I lose a little bit of tension onto the muscle, and so I'm really just trying to keep that activated the entire time, and just so I can get as much blood into that muscle as I can. Right. Now the muscle is primed and ready to get into like our pressing motions, because there's a lot of blood into the muscle now. I'm able to actually feel the muscles contract, and that way I'm just not like pushing with my front delts or pushing with my triceps. I can actually feel the chest activated because of that blood flow, and that way I can use my chest to actually do the movements now. And a lot of people, they're like, you should warm up with the movement that you're trying to progress, and I completely disagree with that. Especially if you have a lagging body part. Now, if you're a strength athlete, then yeah, you could probably do that. But this is for bodybuilding purposes. You know, you're trying to grow that muscle as much as possible. So you want to be able to make sure that you're activating that muscle and making sure that that muscle is actually doing the work whenever you're doing your presses. I don't necessarily get like a full contraction to the very top, just because whenever I do that, my triceps and my front delts just take over completely. I wish I could do that, but with my chest being a lagging body part like that, if I do that, then it just takes it off the chest completely. So I have to kind of like figure out a way just to keep that tension just on the pecs. Now, if I had like a really big chest where I could actually feel the contractions really well, then yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend doing that. But for someone that has a lagging body part, and if they go to contract all the way, if something else takes over from that, it's gonna just take the tension off the muscle. So, all right, so this is just another feeler set. This is probably going to be around like 4 or 5 reps, just to kind of get a feel of a little bit heavier weight. And once I do that, then we'll see if we need to add some weight to it, see how much we need to add, and then we'll move forward with it. So if you'll see, like, I get to the top of this one, like I'm contracting all the way, but I'm not extending all the way. So like I'm getting that pec to roll over as far as it can without like extending and getting the tricep involved with it. So that's kind of what, like if you really look at that movement, that's kind of what I'm doing with it. I'm just keeping the tension on the chest. You also notice too, like whenever I'm doing this press, really with a lot of my presses too, I do have a little bit of a narrower stance. That's mainly just because I have a little bit of a shoulder pain. But whenever I'm doing that, I'm still able to get that full stretch at the bottom, and it's not transferring the load to the tricep. Now, if I were to like really tuck the elbows, then I would probably get a lot more load transfer to the triceps. But I just keep my elbows like in a kind of like an in-between, like a 45 from the body, and just kind of keep that grip a little bit closer. And that way it's less leverage on that shoulder joint, and I'm just keeping that tension right onto the pec. And also whenever I'm pressing all the way up, I'm still able to get that full contraction to the top and that full stretch to the bottom too. They'll feel that set really get hard and get challenging, and they're like, all right, this is gonna be my last rep. And so they'll either die out like halfway through that rep instead of really grinding through, when really physically they can push through that. It's just more of a mental game, really. So as long as you just like push through that rep, more than likely it's gonna keep moving. As long as you just keep that tension on it, it'll keep moving. Now, if you reach a failure point where you just physically can't press it, then just keep pushing and just control it all the way down as hard as you can. Just try to keep that eccentric really slow and controlled, and that way you're still keeping that tension on the pecs too. What I'll do is I'll just go ahead and do a drop set with this one. So I'll just run this all the way to failure, and then as soon as I get done with that, I'll strip these two 25s off and then finish it off with the last part. Drop set is just really, you're just running a set, a heavy set all the way to failure. Even if you get like 6 reps, that's perfectly fine. There's plenty of different ways you can do this, but I just like to do it this way just to keep it real heavy. And then once you reach that failure point the second time with the heavy weight, then you strip off some more of the weight, and you're able to still work the muscle and just like really drive a bunch of blood into that muscle. You're just able to extend that set and just get more out of it, really. It was a total of, I think it was like around 14 reps combined. That's what I was saying, extending that set when it's pretty close to the same amount of volume as a regular heavy working set. You're just using heavier load and then dropping that weight to extend that set to get the most out of it, get a lot of blood into that muscle. So a big misconception is like just moving load, right? And whenever a set gets really hard, they're doing everything they possibly can in order to push that weight up. And that's another reason why I'm not like 100% against progressive overload, but like beating the logbook and stuff like that, because some people will just move that weight at all costs instead of actually just like keeping that tension onto the muscle and using your muscle to actually move it. And so whenever the set gets really hard like that, instead of stopping or breaking form or anything, just keeping form, keeping that tension onto the muscle and driving through without breaking form, without moving your elbows or anything like that, or kicking your waist up, or just trying to create a better leverage on something. You want to stay locked into that set, because that's just going to keep that tension onto the muscle. So I'll probably just do like one feeler set with this one just to get a feel of the movement, and then go right directly into my working sets. There's a certain point where I guess like the progressive overload and beating your logbook type thing, it'll make sense. If you're going to different gyms and stuff like that with different equipment that you're not used to, then it's kind of pointless when it comes to that. So like with this machine, we don't have this machine at the gym that I train out of. And so like trying to figure out what weight feels right for that movement it's going to be like a trial and error thing. And so whenever I'm going into my heavy working sets, if I feel like it's relatively easy to where I feel like I could probably get about like 13 to 14 reps with that, I'm going to go ahead and add more weight to it. I'm not going to waste any energy. I'll do like a couple reps of it just to kind of make sure, but I'm not going to waste any kind of energy on it and add that weight on there, and that way I can get my full working set in. All right. So this next one, I'm gonna do the same thing I did with that other press. I'll start off pretty heavy. I might actually drop it down a couple, just because I want to be able to get at least 45 reps in there, and then I'll drop more weight on that second part and extend that set to where I can get around 12 to 15, somewhere around there total. This might work. That stack is freaking heavy. Like I said, I like to kind of keep it a little bit close. So like, there's another cable machine over there. It's kind of wide, more like for a fly, and it just puts a little bit too much leverage on my shoulder. With this one, I'm able to keep it still nice and tucked and keep that tension onto the pecs, just like we've been doing this whole time. With this one too, I kind of like to press a little bit down, so it's not just like a forward press. That way I'm able to incorporate the entire pec, pushing down and getting that full contraction at the bottom. Really any kind of like press where it's not necessarily like a decline press, but like, I guess like a slight decline press, I can feel it a lot more, just because like whenever I'm going to press even straight or even up like this, my front delt likes to take over a good bit, and in order to keep it just onto the pecs, or as much onto the pecs as I can, if I could just press down like that, I can really get that roll over and just incorporate that whole pec whenever I'm pressing. Just like with all of these, like I'll do one feeler set with this one. I'm obviously very good and warmed up. I don't have to like warm up or anything, but it's just getting acclimated to the movement. So I'll do one feeler set with this and then go right into my working sets. Whenever I'm doing these, I kind of have a little bit of a rock whenever I'm doing it. The whole reason for that is just so whenever I get it to the top, I can still get a stretch into the pec, and it's not just like jamming me up. So like I kind of rock away from it. That way I'm still able to get that stretch like this. So like I'll lean forward so I can get that stretch into the pec. If I were to stay upright like this, I would just be like jammed up. I wouldn't be able to get that stretch. It really just kind of depends on your mechanics, and that goes for like actual like range of motion too, because not everybody's range of motion is going to be the same. You could use a term like range of tension. That's a little bit more accurate, I would say. Just like I was saying the whole time, keeping the tension on the muscle. But like not everyone can go like a full range of motion like all the way back to where they're like completely retracting their scapula and stuff like that, just because they're going to lose that tension on the muscle. But if you keep that tension on there and your active range of tension, you're going to get a lot more out of it. Man, these feel really freaking good. I like them. What I can do is just do like a set of like closer grip presses with this one. And once I reach pretty close to failure on this, then I can go into that stretch, and it'll be the same kind of thing, just building up fatigue, getting a lot of blood into that muscle, and then going into that stretch, and it'll be the same thing. So with this one, I'll probably get like, I'll just kind of feel it out, but probably around like 2 or 3 reps, just to kind of, if I can do more, then I'll do more. But I'm really just looking for like that pretty close to failure range, maybe like 2 reps before failure. It doesn't have to be exact or anything like that, but just kind of like just feel for it. And then once I get pretty fatigued under this, then I'll go into that full stretch at the bottom. And obviously I'm not going to be able to press up after that. So with it being the Smith machine, I can just rock it forward and latch it. That way I'm not pinned or anything. Whenever it's basically called like an active loaded stretch, I guess if you want to call it that. And so you're just like stretching out those muscle fibers and recruiting more blood flow to that muscle. And it kind of just like, that's why I put it towards the end. It kind of starts the repair process, basically just getting like flushing it with blood and nutrients to that muscle. That's the whole point of this whole thing. So I'll probably only do like 1, maybe 2 of these. If I do a second one, it'll just be the stretch. It won't be like any reps or anything. But ideally you would want to just do like 1 of these, and then that'll be pretty much it. Just basically hold that stretch as long as you can. About like, if you can get about 30 seconds, then great. I don't know if I'll be able to do it with this one just because I'm doing reps first, but ideally you'd want to do it like with dumbbells, but like I said, I have that shoulder impingement, so the dumbbells kind of feel a little wonky for me. So using this or any other kind of machine, it's going to feel a little bit safer. I can keep my stance a little bit closer to the body, and it's just going to feel better overall. I can still get that stretch at the bottom too.
That thing was large in there. That was good.
Yeah, so the only reason for doing those reps in advance like that is because, like, with it being a bar across my chest, I'm not able to get the full stretch that I want, but I'm still able to just keep that tension on there, and it's kind of like fighting against each other. So I can still get that stretch, but I'm still keeping tension on the muscle too, and it's still getting that rush of blood to the muscle. Like if I'm using a bar like this, especially if I'm holding a stretch at the bottom, I like to kind of like pull my hands in too. That way I'm still like trying to contract the chest. You know, obviously it's not going to move or anything because you're in a fixed position, but whenever you're pulling it down like that and getting that stretch, just kind of like pull the hands in like that to where it's engaging that pec, and that way you're still able to keep the tension on the pec while it's stretching at the same time. So those are obviously a pain to get out of on that, but like I said, ideally you'd want to use dumbbells for it. That way you're not like pinned, but it still works, it's the same kind of thing. So that wraps up chest day over destination. You know, if you go to my Instagram, JH the American Bully, you can see all my training footage and also all my nutrition coaching and everything with my clients. I post those pretty regularly. jhtrainingsystems@gmail.com. That's a wrap for chest day. So if there's any other like training footage you want to see, like legs or back or anything like that, just let us know in the comments, and we'll see you next time. Like, it sounds really cool whenever you're putting all these, like, you know, large terms and stuff like that into this and throwing out percentages and like all this like super scientific methods and stuff like that. And a lot of that stuff is useful, but we've been doing that from the very beginning, just without putting it on or labeling it as a certain term, you know what I mean? So the main thing you should just really be doing is just really bringing that intensity to your training sessions and not worrying about like percentages and or even honestly even beating logbooks and stuff like that. I know some people do that and they get great results. If that's what you like to do and that's what pushes you into your sets, then by all means go for it. But some people they just take it to the extreme. They just really beat themselves up, like if they have like a bad training day or something like that and they're 2 reps shy of what they were supposed to do, then their like whole day is ruined. And I just think that's, I don't know, I think that's self-sabotaging really.